Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. The Shrimp Tank Charleston is a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, and Spotify. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website. Go to www.eellc.com for past shows and plus really some great information. Well, I'm super excited to have the guest today, who is founder and CEO of Forbes Books, and that's Forbes as in the Forbes Magazine connection, Adam Witty. And let me give you guys a quick little background on our guest, because he's pretty big guest to be on the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. One, he is the founder of Forbes Books. He also has Advantage Media Company that was founded in 2005. He was a 30 under 30 list of America's coolest entrepreneurs in 2011. The company Advantage has been named Inc. 500, 5,000 list for the last five of the past 8 years, which is awesome. He's the author of 8 books. He's been seen on you couldn't be seen on USA Today because that's a paper, but you've been published in USA Today, Investors Business Daily, The Wall Street Journal. He's been on ABC, Fox. God knows this bio just keeps going. He's the author and excuse me, I'm sorry. It's so hard to keep going with this. There's so much stuff, Adam. Author of Authority and co-authored the best-selling books, The Authority Advantage, and Authority Marketing. He has the Book of Business, How to Make Big Money with Your Book Without Even Selling a Single Copy, which is what I definitely want to hear about. There's just so much stuff. Relentless implementation. There's just amazing things this guy has done so far early in his life and at the age of 42 now. And you own, hotels. I mean, you're a true entrepreneur. But I think one of the coolest things that you don't get enough credit for and probably never get talked about in an interview is that you're an Eagle Scout, because it's kind of extinct. Like, does anybody do Boy Scouts anymore? I think it's kind of
It's not
tarnished.
what it once was, yeah.
An Eagle Scout, it's like you're Rambo when you're an Eagle Scout. It's a big deal. It's hard stuff. So, and lastly, I want to mention he was Charleston's 2019 Entrepreneur of the Year by Harbor Entrepreneur Center, which is amazing. You have a lovely wife named Erin, a son named Ellis. You live in downtown Charleston. You have a cat, and you have another child on the way. And did I cover everything? I'm sorry for fumbling a little bit, but it's just so much stuff.
You covered it. Every time somebody reads my bio, my mother, if she's in the room, she'll lean over to me and whisper and say, "Who's that?" That's not my son.
Oh, well, I would think she's just like, of course that's my son. I made him. I mean, it is pretty impressive what you've done. And I can't wait to talk about how your connection with Forbes and all that kind of stuff came into play. But again, first, let me just say, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Really excited to have you and learn about your background. I want to give a little quick agenda of what we thought we'd discuss today to give you some help or clues before we get into it. I want to talk about your background, kind of where you grew up. I want to talk about the ups and downs of growing your business, which obviously, from what I've read in the research we did, you've had some of that. Mm-hmm. Your relationship and how you partnered with Steve Forbes or Forbes Magazine in general, how your company owned or partly owned by Forbes, just that connection I'm interested in. And what's the difference? One of the big things I want to hear from you is, what's the difference between your books and then these other media companies? Because I get an email, I'm going to say 3 emails a day telling me I will be featured in Forbes. Someone sending me, and it's always something different. They're all talking how they'll feature me and write a book or do this. And I think they're complete knockoffs, but I'll let you answer that. And then I want to also get into what's the investment for someone to write a book with you guys or in general, and what defines the success of launching a book for your clients. So, and then lastly, I want to know what the future looks like for Adam Witty, for not only you personally, but also the company and professionally. So that's what we're going to go over today, guys, with Mr. Adam Witty. But let's first start into, tell me a little bit about your background. I know you grew up in Maryland, or was born in Maryland, but start us kind of there.
Yeah, so born in Annapolis, Maryland, and when I was about 8 years old, my parents came to my brother and I and said, we're moving to Orlando. And if you can remember back when you were 8 years old, I don't think anybody at the age of 8 looked forward to leaving all their friends and moving 1,000 miles away to a foreign place with all these unknowns. And so, like most kids, my brother and I were kind of kicking and screaming, why do we have to go? And I had even bargained with our next door neighbor that I would just live with them and let my parents go without me. So we moved to Orlando, and that's where I spent most of my childhood, from like third grade until graduation of high school. And there were a couple of two defining things that happened in Orlando. The first is my father started a business of his own. He had worked for companies up until that point, but after a while decided he was ready to go out and do something on his own. And there was another gentleman that he worked with, and so the two of them partnered together and created a business. Their first office was the garage of his business partner. And they had a dog named Cody who was in a dog crate, literally in the garage. And they had 2 desks set up in the garage. They had a space heater for whenever it got cold, which in Orlando wasn't that often.
Yeah,
and they had
is that just to make the story like
a little bit better?
We walked through snow, but Orlando, it was 62 degrees one day.
We bundled up.
Turn that heater on.
They did have a portable air conditioner unit,
okay.
So that would make sense. But they started a business from scratch, and I was able to see him grow that business. Ultimately, he and his partner successfully sold it to a big company and did very, very well.
What was the company?
The company was called MedAdvantage. It was a healthcare credentialing company. And at the time, their company did background checks and background investigations on doctors. They would credential the doctor, so they would credential their records, and then they would certify them to be able to be a part of a PPO or an HMO.
Okay.
Which at the time, that's when PPOs and HMOs were like brand new and really kind of taking the world by storm. They were the first company in their category. In many ways, they invented the category. And they were able to grow that business from just the two of them in their garage to well over 150 employees. And they had a sale to a pretty large national insurance company. And I was able to see, really with a front row seat, what starting a business looks like. And there were ups and there were some downs too. So I saw that. But ultimately, it was a great outcome for them. So that, I think, really got me interested in this idea of, maybe I might want to do that for myself, right? Maybe I don't want to just go work for someone. Maybe I want to try something on my own. So that was one of the defining memories from my childhood in Central Florida. The second was we were big basketball fans.
And just so everybody knows, Adam is about 6'9", maybe 6'8". But did you play basketball?
I played basketball in high school. Now, I wasn't that good, right? I mean, the old joke that white kids can't jump. Well, it's not a joke. It's true. And so I was on the bench probably as much as I was out on the court. But I did grow up playing basketball, loved basketball. And in the mid-'90s, when I was a kid in Central Florida, it was the Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway show in Orlando.
Then you had Dennis Scott.
That's right.
And you had, God, he's so good. Who was the shooting for?
We had Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson.
Yeah, you almost got the starting five, and then you had Horace Grant, who came from Chicago, good Clemson grad. So you've got this incredible team. They're making waves. They're the young guns. My brother and I are big basketball fans, and our family had season tickets. We were so fortunate. So we got to go to all of these games. And when I was in Orlando, I had my first business idea as a kid. So hear me out. We're going to games, and if you know anything about the NBA, there's 41 home games, there's 41 away games for every team, and most of the games are like Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night at like 7 or 8 o'clock. Now, when you're at home with kids, this is my parents, you've got soccer practice, you've got band, you've got church, you've got basketball, like you've got every activity under the sun. And so going to a basketball game in downtown Orlando at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night when your kid has to be up at 6:30 to go to school is a tough proposition. So my dad would call our friends and say, hey, we've got 2 tickets to the game. We can't use them. Do you want to use them? No, we have church. Hey, we've got 2 tickets to the game. Do you want to use them? No, we've got soccer, and so on down the line. So I'm a kid, and I literally see my father throwing these game tickets in the trash because he can't get anybody to take them for free.
And you're how old?
I am 15.
Okay.
So I'm watching all this happen, and these are good tickets. I mean, 15 rows from the floor. And the internet, really kind of became a thing in the early 90s, call it 94, 95. So this is like 96, 97, 98 time frame. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, what if you could sell those tickets online to somebody that might want really good seats? Okay. So if you remember,
so you're trying your Ticketmaster pay stub or whatever.
yeah, StubHub. That's right. The business model was identical to StubHub. So we create a marketplace online. Season ticket holders that have tickets that they can't use go online, they register, they list their tickets for sale, and then any fan that wants really good tickets comes to the website and can buy them. Because before the internet changed everything, all of the good seats in any stadium or any arena were held by the season ticket holders. So if you were just a fan that wanted to go to 1 or 2 games a year, the only tickets you could buy were literally in the bleachers in the nosebleed section, the very top of the house, because the great tickets were all held by the season ticket holders. So the idea was season ticket holders have the best seats. They can't go to a game. You put those online. Now any and every fan can get the best seats for the game that they want to go to. So that was the idea. And my parents thought at first I was a little nuts and crazy. They're like, you just go to school. And then I just wouldn't let go of it. And they said, okay, I think you've got something. So the first transformative experience for me is I see my dad start a business from scratch. So that really kind of gets the bug inside of me. And then I have this idea that I think could turn into a real business. So then I go to college. I go to Clemson, which is what
Do you start that business in high school?
I started in college.
Okay. So you had the idea.
I had the idea, and I had, kind of detailed the idea down on paper. I had even kind of sketched out what the website would look like. What's page 1 when you go to the home page, and then if you click on this button, what's the second page look like? Like literally just a pencil and paper.
Really?
So I had drawn this out of what it would look like, and then I just put it to the side because now I had to graduate from high school and get ready to go to college.
Well, first off, you put it down on paper, which is such a huge move. People just don't realize how your dreams and goals can come so much. The percentage of coming true is so much higher just putting it down on paper instead of leaving it in the head.
That's right.
So congrats on doing that. One, it's a great idea. So now we fast forward, and we're in college, and you go on to the Clemson University.
Yep.
And you materialize this like it comes to fruition?
That's right. I decided that I'm going to try
There's still nothing out there.
There's nothing out there at this point. I decided I'm going to give a go of it. And I remember somebody said to me, they're like, hey, why not here? Why not now? Right? Yeah, you're 17 years old or however old I was, 18 or 19. Yeah, you don't know much, but you got nothing to lose. And that to me was probably the biggest aha. And it's one of the things that I share with people that are interested in entrepreneurship, that a lot of people, I can't start a business now because, I've got student debt or I've got kids, young kids, a young family. I just bought a house. I need the stability of, a job. And I believe that the younger you are, the less you have to lose. That's actually the time to take the chance. Because as you get older, as you acquire more material assets, you buy a bigger house. Now maybe you have private school, or you have a couple of cars, or maybe you have a boat, or you have just more obligations. It becomes harder and harder to take a chance, to take a risk. And starting a business takes some risk, and it's a chance that everybody takes. So I think the earlier in your career you take that chance, the better than waiting. And a mentor had shared that with me, that, look, yeah, you're a college kid. Arguably, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the skills. But you know what? Take the chance now. You've got nothing to lose. And he said on top of that, when you're a kid in college starting a business, everybody is going to help you. When you're middle-aged, it's like, yeah, you're another middle-aged guy who's going to come help you. But when you're a kid in college, like, everybody's going to do anything they can to help you. And that proved to be true.
Okay, so then you do it by yourself? Or do you have a buddy that's like, hey, I want to help you with this?
I start the business by myself, but I quickly realized that I couldn't do it alone. And although I understood the internet, I was not a programmer or a web developer. So the key piece of this business is this online marketplace where you can buy and sell sports tickets. I wasn't a programmer. I wasn't a coder. So I was quickly at a stop point that I needed to go find somebody that could help me do this. So initially, I raised a little bit of money from friends and family and fools. That initial, I raised $25,000. So
still,
money, right? And it was my parents. It was my godparents. He was a very successful entrepreneur. And it was a couple of family friends, a $10,000 check and maybe $5,000.
I would have never, so let's take Chase, who's a graduate of the Citadel. And Chase comes to me with some idea in college and says, will you give me $10,000? I'm not giving him $10,000. I'm sorry, Chase, because I'm just thinking at my point now. So it's pretty impressive that you got people to invest beyond family, beyond your parents,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let's be very clear. They all lost all their money. However, had I not had that experience, that would not have opened the door number two, which, that business has been a big success. But the point is, and you make a great point, you got to take that risk, though. And for me, I just felt like, hey, I'm in college. I'm never going to have in my life fewer responsibilities than I do now, right? And so why not start a business that's high risk when you have the fewest number of core responsibilities? Yes, I had a responsibility that I need to get through college and graduate.
Are you when you're doing this in college, are you partying? Are you enjoying college, or is this more focused on trying to get this business off?
It was half and half. I had a great college experience, and there were some of the best 4 years of my life. And I had fun. I had a great social life. I went to plenty of parties, but not overboard. It was very much, hey, I have a mission. I got to go to school. I got to try to start this business and make a go of it. I've got to have a social life and have a little bit of fun. But it was very disciplined of like, hey, I've got 3 buckets. I've got the school bucket, I've got the business bucket, and then I've got the, social bucket of just like, the college experience.
Do you just have that in you, or is someone helping you balance that? Because that's pretty incredible to think that way at 17, 19 years old.
That might have been a stroke of good luck.
I would have not been that way.
So I start this business and build a little bit of momentum. Now, at most, the most this business ever did in annual sales was about $250,000,
which is amazing.
So,
are you making money, or is it costing $250,000?
No. I was making money, not big money, but enough money to, buy some extra beer and pizza, so to speak. Put a little bit of money away. So when I graduated, I had a small nest egg. Now I had to go hire some employees, which I had never done that before. And I had never managed people before. And so that's all, happening live in real time, learning it as I do it, which was interesting. There were some successes and plenty of failures too. And, motivating people and getting people engaged. I did bring on ultimately a business partner. So I had a director of web development. He was a student at Clemson that I was introduced to, and he came in as a minority partner. He and I were both, kind of working for no salary, but if there were any profits at the end of each month, we'd share some of that. So he came on as kind of a partner, and then we had to hire one or two people as well.
Wow, it's amazing that you did this in college, though. I mean, I would have been impressed if you said we did $10,000 in revenue, let alone even $1,000 in revenue. You did something, and you did $250,000, which is amazing. Guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. Follow our show on Apple Podcasts. Under the search menu, type in The Shrimp Tank Charleston. We're sitting here talking to Adam Witty of Forbes Books, Advantage Media. He owns hotels. Someone at StubHub found his idea and stole it and is worth billions of dollars now. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear more about the next chapter in your life and how the Forbes books came to fruition. We'll be right back with Adam Witty.
Attention. Do you own a whole life or universal life insurance policy? Were you told to expect a big tax-free nest egg at retirement, or that dividends will pay for the policy instead of you? Agents frequently sell products like this that are profitable for them, but not for you. Let Double E audit your policy at no cost. Call now to find out how Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions can help you. 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial, Double E LLC, and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, guys, to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, as well as founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. I use the Shrimp Tank Charleston platform to continue elevating my life as well as our clients' lives. If you want to reach out to me or be a guest on the show, please go to our website, Double E, and that's spelled out DOUBLE, two E's in the middle, LLC.com, and go to our Contact Us page and reach out that you want to be a guest or similar to the Adam Witty that we have in studio today. So we were sitting there talking about the first StubHub, which was called, what was the name of the company?
TicketAdvantage.com.
TicketAdvantage.com. All right, so one of the questions I want to ask you is, when you have this and your people are going and online to get tickets, when did the business kind of just end, and how soon after was StubHub popular?
Yeah. The tricky part about the business was that you had to create supply and demand at the same time, because we didn't supply our own product, right? We had to get season ticket holders that had tickets that they couldn't use to come to Ticket Advantage, create an account, register, and list their tickets for sale, while at the same time getting fans to come to the website and buy those tickets. Because if you have season tickets, Eric, and you post them on Ticket Advantage and they don't sell, you're probably not going to use the service again.
Yeah, because back in the 90s or late 90s, I'm going to the scalper.
That's right, on the corner.
Yeah,
in front of the stadium.
that's what I'm doing, and I don't even know how to use the web to do what I don't even know that your site exists. I wouldn't even if I did, I wouldn't even know what I was doing.
So this was tricky, and it required sophistication that candidly at the time I didn't have. It also required money that I didn't have to really scale the marketing and scale the advertising. StubHub, which went on to become a great success, they raised $30 million in their first round of funding, I believe, when they were there's two students at Stanford in the MBA program. They went out and raised a bunch of money, and what they proved was that you actually needed a bunch of money if you were going to make this model really take off, because of the critical mass that was needed in fans that had tickets to sell and fans that needed tickets to buy, right? You just need a lot of mass in order for the business model to work. And I ultimately didn't have that. Now, I got my MBA from the School of Hard Knocks. I graduated with an undergrad in marketing, but at the same time, I kind of got an MBA for free, starting a business from scratch. Even though it wasn't a big success, ultimately I learned a lot. And StubHub, of course, went on to become a big success, ultimately selling to Ticketmaster for, I think hundreds of millions of dollars.
Did you ever meet the guys who started StubHub?
I did. Yeah.
Did they know who you were?
They did. So they had started maybe 6 months after us, and they had done some like secret shopper, customer browsing on us, and we had done the same thing on them. They were based in San Francisco, and I was out in San Francisco for a promotional event for Ticket Advantage, and the founder of StubHub and I got together and had lunch. And we talked about, were there any ways we could work together, collaborate together, and nothing ultimately happened from it. But yeah, we did meet.
That's cool. That is very cool. And then you should be like, hey, you guys should give me like 1% of what you earned.
Funny, when they sold to Ticketmaster, they didn't call me to say thank you. Or,
I would. Yeah. You would be part of my speech. That I wouldn't be here without you. But obviously they're not the greatest guys in the world. I mean, they don't think it that way. All right, so then you get out of school.
Yeah.
And let's kind of fast forward because we only have so much time, and I could keep talking to you because your background really is super interesting. How does the book business start?
Yeah.
And well, let me ask you this before I go there. Do you still talk to the people, non-family, non-parents, that gave you the 10 grand here or 5 grand there? They okay with you? Did you pay them back? Or
I still keep in touch with all of them, have a great relationship with all of them. Believe it or not, I've not paid them back. Now, I've not paid them back simply because, hey, they made an investment in a business. The business didn't succeed. I mean, I lost out too. It's not like I won when they lost. But if my current company has the continued success that I hope and think it will, at some point, my goal is to, just kind of secretly mail them a check. So one day they open up the mailbox and there's a check paying them back with interest for believing in me many, many years ago when probably most people wouldn't have believed in me.
That's cool. And they're probably like, well, I'm 87 years old right now.
So what good does this money do me?
Yeah, give me the money now, right now. That was one of those family members reached out to me and said, please make sure
Would you bring this up on the interview?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go now into the career that you have today.
Yep.
How
did that happen?
Yeah, how does it go?
Okay. 2 summers when I was in high school, before I went to college, I did an internship for a book publishing company. I did not have a desire to be in the book publishing business. I didn't have a dream of being a writer. Our next door neighbor was an executive at a publishing company, and my parents said to me, son, you've got to get a job this summer. And my options were bagging groceries at Publix or being a paid intern in the marketing department of this publishing company. And so you can guess which of the two I opted for. The pay was better
at the
publishing company.
I don't know. It's a hard choice, but I I might go Publix.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Just because of the tips on taking the cart out to the car.
And you get,
Back then, they
did tip. They don't do it anymore.
yeah, they quit that.
They did. So I end up working at this publishing company. I thought I would not find it all that interesting, and I was actually pretty, immersed in it and flattered by it, and just, schmitten with it, if you will. And I love books. I've always been a pretty big reader. And so I got to see how books were made, from the writing to the design to the printing to the distribution to the marketing to the sales to how books are picked, packed, and fulfilled when orders come in from a warehouse. Like, I saw the creation and sale of books 360 degrees. And it was a great summer where I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about my own interests. That was the first summer. I go off to Clemson, and one of the guys that I worked with was the head of sales. And during my freshman year at Clemson, the head of sales calls me and he says, "Hey, would you think about coming back next summer to work with us again?" And he said, "The reason I ask is we have our 2 big trade shows each year during the summer, and I'd actually like you to run the entire trade show program for our company." And this was something that was really interesting to me. Number one, because it was a big responsibility. Each trade show at the time, the budget was probably $200,000 to $250,000 for the booth and the travel and all the sales reps that were there, and the entertaining and whining and dining of
Which
customers.
is huge. Especially, it's still huge now, but it's even
Back then.
massive back then.
And he said, "You're going to be in charge of all of it. You're going to have full discretion, and you get to decide exactly what we do." So he was going to give me a big opportunity and a lot of autonomy as well. And I got all expenses paid trips to both of these conferences, each of them, with the setup, the tear down. I'd be gone for like 2 weeks at a time, which, when you're a young kid, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh.
Freedom. So I decided to go back and work with him in this company for the second summer. And I was working with the sales team. I really learned a lot about myself, that I liked sales and the art of selling. And he and I developed a great relationship. He was somebody that really took me under his wing, truly a mentor. In some ways, it was kind of like a father-son relationship, where he really looked out for me during that summer when I was
How much
working
older
there.
is he?
He was probably at the time, 45, and I was 19 or 20,
Okay.
something like that. So go off to Clemson after my second summer and do the Ticket Advantage business, which we talked about. And as the Ticket Advantage business was kind of winding down, I could see the handwriting on the wall that it just wasn't going to be the success that I wanted it to be. I get a phone call from this gentleman. His name is Mike. And Mike says, "Hey, Adam, I'm leaving the publishing company to go out and start my own publishing business. And I'd love for you to join me and work with me, and I'll make you an equity partner. So we'll work together to build this publishing business." And at the time, it was like, oh my God, my dreams come true. I love this guy. I get to start a business. I get to have some ownership in a business, and I get to do something that I really, really like. So he and I decide that we're going to start this publishing company together, and we were going to be partners. So he's putting together everything, and I get the legal documents to sign, and he's a 51% owner, and I'm a 49% owner. So I ask him about it. I'm like, "Hey, just out of curiosity, like, for partners, shouldn't it be 50-50? And, I'm at this time 22 years old, so I'm still pretty naive and very, very trusting. And he says, "Well, if
Just logistics.
if push came to shove, like, ultimately one of us has to be, officially the CEO, and, the lawyer said we needed to do this, but trust me, we're 50-50 in spirit." And my dad, who at the time I was just saying, "Hey, give me some advice. What do you think?" He's like, "Well, son, if it's a partnership, as defined by a 50-50 partnership, then I think you really need to push him on this." And I remember saying to my dad, like, "Dad, Mike is my mentor. I trust him. I'm going to let this go." famous last words. So we start this business. Now, he was the head of sales. I was also selling as well, and I was pretty good at it. And he said to me, hey, you do all the selling and I'll run the business. You sell the customer, you go find an author, and then once the author comes into the business, I'll handle everything in terms of creating the book and getting it published and distributed and sold. And I said, okay. So we start working together and we get some momentum. We get a number of authors that we bring into the publishing house. People like Pat Williams start spreading the word about what I'm doing, and he referred over a dozen authors to us in the first year alone. And it was about the end of the first year, we're really making some progress. And I say, hey, Mike, crazy idea. You're the best salesperson I've ever met. You taught me everything I know. How about if you come sell with me so we can double our efforts, and let's just go hire somebody to do all this other stuff, right? Because great salesmanship is a skill that not everybody has. And he looks at me and he's like, no. You're going to do the selling and I'm going to do the managing. And I didn't think too much of it at the time until we had to start hiring some of our employees. And the first employee that we hired was his wife. And the second employee that we hired was his daughter. And the third employee that we hired was his son. And I soon realized that this whole business was about supporting him and his lifestyle and not about creating an enterprise. And, I'm 21, 22 years old. I want to go create a business. I want to conquer the world. I want to create an enterprise. And he really wanted a lifestyle business that he could run from his home that would supply him and support his family to have the lifestyle that they wanted. So this becomes very apparent very quickly. And I go to him and I say, hey, Mike, look, I love you. You've taught me so much. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Clearly what you want and clearly what I want are really not the same thing.
And you're how old now?
22.
Okay.
So maybe 23. So I say to him, tell you what, why don't we just split the business in two? You take half the business, I'll take half of the business. And I said, I'll even focus on a different area so we're not ever competing with each other. And we'll just go our separate ways. And he said, well, that sounds like a great idea. And you're fired. And he said, and I can fire you because I'm the CEO and I control the company because I own 51% of the stock. And literally sends out an email to everybody in our contact database saying, effective immediately, Adam Witty has been fired as our salesperson. Any inquiries should come directly to me, So I start getting phone calls from our clients, our authors, saying, hey, what's going on? I just got this email that said that you were fired and that I shouldn't talk to you anymore. You're the reason I published my book with your company. My relationships with you, I don't want to work with this guy, Mike. I don't even know him. I know you. And what I learned at that moment was the power of relationships. And what I learned at that time was also that, hey, this idea that it'll all be okay and Mike will take care of me even though it's 51-49, well, that ended up not being the case.
Well, you're so fortunate that you had these two dramatic experiences with the ticket business, then this business, all happening before the age of 23. Because most people have that happen much later, number one. And it's even harder to rebound and recover from something like that. You're getting your second master's, basically, in business from this.
I have not spoken to Mike since that day, but between us, I am so grateful to him for what he did because it has made me such a better entrepreneur, such a better business person. And, the business that I have today is a gazillion times bigger than I ever would have imagined he and I would have created something together. And had it not been for that event, it probably would not have so forcefully pushed me in the direction that I've gone.
Is Mike still have a publishing company?
He does. It looks like it's he and his wife and his two kids working out of his living room.
Interesting. What's interesting is one of our subscriber questions is a gentleman by the name of Mike. So we'll get to that momentarily. Now that question's starting to make sense. Why I didn't get it until now, but we'll get there momentarily. Guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. We're sitting here talking to Adam Witty, the founder of Forbes Books. We're going to take our last break. We'll be right back, and we're going to hear how he became connected to Forbes. Very interesting. We'll be right back.
If you're like most successful business executives, you would probably rather stick your arm in a bucket of snakes than formulate a strategy for your insurance and financial needs. Who even understands estate planning, 401k plans, or key man insurance? We do. We are Double E, your virtual chief insurance and financial officer. Let us free you up to do more of what you do best and less of what we do better. Call 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial Double E LLC and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. We've been sitting here talking to Adam Witty of Forbes Books, founder in the Double E Studios. Just FYI, if you prefer to watch these interviews, please go to our YouTube channel and type in the search menu under YouTube, The Shrimp Tank Charleston. You can also watch not only this interview, but other previous shows that have very interesting stories just like Adam's. So, all right. Unfortunately, Adam, you have these great nuggets that you keep just throwing out that for these listeners that are listening to the show or subscribers to the show. One, you've said if you're going to take a chance, definitely take it when you're young, because you don't have these responsibilities. And the paranoia that you think you have, they don't. I'm sorry, if you do not have kids, your paranoia is paranoia. It's not real, because when you have kids, it goes to this whole nother level of worrying. It's almost the best advice I can give a 20-something-year-old is get married. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't have kids, because you will live less stressed life without them. You'll love them to death to the point where that's all you worry about. And it's so expensive. You have to get 2 hotel rooms later in life for a variety of reasons. You can come up with reasons why, but you have to feed more people. It's just nonstop. But don't get me wrong, I love them. All right, let's talk about. So that experience with Mike ends, but there's a bright spot there, because it's basically how you started Advantage Forbes Books. So take me to when you get this connection with Forbes.
Yep. So I started Advantage Media in 2005. Mike and I separate.
You're living here.
I am living in Charleston, and I say, you know what? I'm going to put this experience behind me. I'm going to learn from it, and it's nothing but windshield. What's in front of me, not what's in the rear.
You're really, truly this attitude, or are you just saying this now?
No, it was truly this attitude. I got to put it behind me and just move forward.
I mean, it's like I'm sitting with Tony Robbins here today. Like how you can think and do this stuff and be with that mindset is a gift. It's an art. Sorry, but go ahead.
Well, so thank you, and it served me well, and the reason I bring it up is just it's so important, right? I mean, like, shit happens, and you got to have a short memory, and you got to put it behind you, because ruminating on it and thinking about it and reliving it isn't going to get you anywhere to getting to where you want to go, right? And so that's what I realized, is that I just got to move forward. So started Advantage Media in 2005, and our business at the time is working with entrepreneurs and CEOs and business leaders to help them write and publish a book. A mentor of mine is a guy by the name of Pat Williams. He's the founder of the Orlando Magic basketball team. And he's also a business celebrity. He's written lots of books. He's been a keynote speaker all over the world. He's been on every news program that you can think of.
What's his business? What did he do to make money?
His business was professional sports. So he co-founded the Orlando Magic basketball team. He was the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, this is the bald-headed guy with the goatee?
Yeah, now. That's right. But he's got 19 kids. 15 of whom are adopted from third world countries. He's run like 100 marathons in his life. He's written now over 100 books.
Okay.
He's a motivational speaker. He's a really well-known guy and a fabulous human being. And I had befriended him. I had read a book that he had written, and I wrote him a letter. And I asked if I could take him out to lunch. And he, believe it or not, wrote me back.
Really?
And ultimately, I was able to get him on the phone and asked if I could take him to lunch. This is when I was 17 years old, and he let me take him to lunch. And so that began a friendship and a mentorship that lasts to this day. So,
Really?
So
I can see his face. I mean, he was on a lot. I remember when he was the GM for the Sixers.
Mm-hmm. And then he was the GM for the Magic, as well as the co-founder of the team.
Wow. Okay. So sorry. Keep going. So
he says to me, he said, Adam, every CEO needs to be an author, because when they write the book on the topic, they're the expert and they're the authority that everybody wants to talk to. And he said, you should start a business book publishing company that exclusively is focused on helping CEOs and entrepreneurs write their book. And that was the motivation and the advice that led me down the path of what Advantage Media is even today. So we start working with CEOs. We start helping them write their books. The business grows steadily but surely. And in 2015, so this is 10 years into the business, I get connected to a senior executive of Forbes. And
Forbes Magazine.
Forbes Magazine, Forbes Media. Everybody knows Steve Forbes, who's the editor-in-chief and the chairman of the company. And I said to this executive, I said, hey, you guys are the biggest business magazine in the world. Why don't you publish business books? And she laughs at me and she says, Adam, it's hard enough to make money selling magazines. Why in the world do we want to now try to sell books too? And I said, okay, I hear you. But let me share with you how our business model is different. And I tell her all about the Advantage Media business model. I tell her that our authors are exclusively CEOs and entrepreneurs. And the reason for them writing their book is not just to sell copies in Barnes & Noble, but to really build their authority brand, to share their message with the world. And they're as much focused on all of the other ways that the book can help them build their business than selling copies. And oh, by the way, our company makes money even if the author and the book never sell a single copy. And she was very intrigued. And she said, okay, well, tell me more about this. So I end up flying up to New York and I make a full presentation where I share, here's our model. And imagine that if Advantage Media and Forbes were to partner together to create Forbes books, this is a classic 1 + 1 = 10 proposition. And so she was intrigued. She thought it was very, very interesting. And Forbes had a history of selectively partnering with other companies to create joint ventures where they would put their name on businesses that were adjacent to theirs and kind of had the same core audience of Forbes, right? Because we were a business publisher and because our authors were all CEOs and entrepreneurs, those are a lot of the readers of Forbes Magazine. So it was a really, really good natural fit. So she comes back to me and she says, this is really interesting. And we want you to come back up to New York and we want you to meet with Steve and the family. We want you to meet with our executive team and let's just talk about it further. Fast forward. Now, this dating process, if you will, it took about a year. So it didn't happen quickly, and it didn't happen overnight.
I think that's actually kind of short.
It's a good lesson in perseverance, right? And so we put this deal together that ultimately creates Forbes Books. And what that looks like today is Advantage Media, the company that I founded. We are the operating partner of Forbes Books. So we control the business. We run the business. Forbes is a shareholder in the business. But they let us run the business day to day because we have expertise in books, and they don't. And when I say 1 + 1 = 10, it's probably an understatement. I mean, it's been a perfect marriage. They've been the perfect partner. What they've done is they've expanded all of our authors to now have reach to every Forbes subscriber, every Forbes reader, every visitor of Forbes.com. We've created some really unique marketing opportunities for those authors.
Back that part up where you just said that. So if I utilize your company, or I utilize Forbes Books as to write my book or that title, when my book gets published, then that gets sent to Forbes, and then somehow they circulate that through their social media, through their online, like how is Eric Elkin's book going to be shown via Forbes?
Yeah, so we're integrated. I mean, it's in many ways one company, right? So if you are a Forbes Books author, then your content is going to be shared with the Forbes subscriber list through social media, through webinars, through email blasts, through content at Forbes.com. Every Forbes Books author is a contributor on Forbes.com. So you're going to have the opportunity to share your message with Forbes readers, because we think most Forbes Magazine subscribers or Forbes.com readers are also probably the logical person that's going to want to buy and read your book.
Interesting. Okay, so but there's criteria, because I know you have Advantage.
That's right.
And then you have the Forbes Connect, the two different channels.
That's right. There's two in the book world. They call them imprints, but Advantage Books and Forbes Books. That's right.
So what does an author in Advantage look like versus what you have to look like to even qualify for the Forbes?
Yeah. So an Advantage Books author is going to be a CEO, an entrepreneur, or a business leader that wants to share their message and story with the world, and mostly is looking to use that book as a marketing tool to help grow their business and to help share their message. Okay? The Forbes Books author is going to likely be a bigger person, meaning they're going to have a bigger platform, they're going to have bigger stature, they're probably going to have a bigger name, or the company that they run or founded is going to be bigger, more likely a household name versus a smaller or more regional company. And on top of that, the book is going to have what we would call commercial retail sales potential. So unlike with Advantage Books, Forbes Books is very focused on commercial sales success. We care about selling copies of their book in bookstores, on Amazon, and through other retail channels. And so it's got to be a book, it's got to be a topic, it's got to be a message that we think there's a retail market for. And then that Forbes Books author has to have a platform where they can help promote the book to generate success through retail sales channels.
And then Forbes Books, or your company / Forbes, and me, the author of that book, hypothetically, you're taking a cut of of the book sales.
That's right.
And the shareholder being Forbes is getting a cut from that. And on top of it, I paid you to help get this book published, period.
Yeah, that's right. So
you're taking it from both sides. I mean, you're winning in some. If the book sells nothing, you still made a profit by
creating the book. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and what's really important to know in the book publishing industry, there's a lot of people probably listening or watching right now. They're like, oh yeah, I've got a book inside of me. I've always thought about or dreamed about writing and publishing a book. But most people know nothing about like the reality of how book publishing works. And what you've got to understand is that any publisher that you could think of, right? If you go into a bookstore and you flip the book over, it might say Random House, or it might say Simon and Schuster, or it might say Harper Collins. Those are three of the biggest trade publishers in the world. The only way they make money is if they sell lots of copies of your book. Now, they own the rights to your book. They own the intellectual property to your book. They control it all. And for that, they're going to pay you in advance. But that advance is on money that you would earn in the future through royalties. So it's really just an advance. It's not free money.
Right.
And they're only going to give it to you if they're convinced you're going to sell lots of copies, which in most cases is defined as tens of thousands of copies. So if you don't have a big platform, if you're not a celebrity, it's unlikely you would ever get a traditional publisher to be interested in you in the first place. But there's a lot of people that have really good ideas, that have really legitimate reasons to publish a book, that aren't business celebrities and may not have the opportunity to sell tens of thousands of copies. So that's where our business model comes into play. You've got traditional publishing, which is the big publishers that I just mentioned. You have self-publishing, which is you could do it all yourself and just list it on Amazon and sell it. And then you've got this middle ground. A lot of people call it hybrid publishing. We use the word independent publishing, where you're going to hire us, Eric, to help you write the book with the help of a ghostwriter, design the book, print the book, publish it, distribute it, sell it, market it. You're going to pay us a fee to help you do all of that, which, by the way, you would have to do if you self-published it.
Right, which gets back to, I don't know what to do.
And it's not just paying somebody to do it. I don't know what to do. So with independent publishing, you have a team. We have close to 100 people on our team that are writers, editors, designers, packagers, distributors, printers, book promoters. And their specialty, all they do every single day of the week, is do that for books. You know, we'll publish 200 titles this year. That's all they do. So we're bringing to you the expertise of, hey, you have an idea for a book. Let's help you make it a really great idea. Let's help you design it. Let's help you package it in a way that allows you to accomplish your goals. Whether your goal is, I want to sell 10,000 copies, or whether your goal is, hey, I want to use this book to get clients for my business. I want to use this book as a platform to become a speaker or to launch a consulting company. Every author has a slightly different definition of success. And so we're going to optimize what is the book that we need to create and in what way do we need to create it to get them whatever their end goal is.
How many people that you guys, would you say percentage-wise, you work with whatever their idea that they are planning to write about? If I took 10 of those random, how many of them think that they're going to be a New York Times bestseller, that their story is so special, but deep down you're like, this is nothing? And like you and your team give back, and I know you don't want to admit this, but you're like, this story is terrible. I mean, this is not a good story, but we'll do the book. It's fine.
Yep. I would tell you that 8 out of 10 people that we talk to have reasonable expectations, meaning it's reasonable about, hey, here's what my platform really is. Here's what my topic really is. And here's what my goals are. Like, okay, that's reasonable. Like with your platform, with your topic, and with what you want to achieve, we can do that. Right? Now, it's going to take work, but we can do it. 2 out of 10 people are Looney Tunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the ideas that I'm talking potentially with you guys is how much fun, my book's going to be titled, How Much Fun is Life Insurance? And people are just going to go crazy over it. I know it. You know that. And then
Well, it's a fun topic.
And my follow-up is Is health insurance fun or what?
If there was one thing that was better than life insurance, it would probably be health insurance.
I think they're killers for you guys. I don't even know how many. Is there even a higher level than the New York Times best-selling list? I don't know, but those two books that are coming, guys, in the near future.
Number one on the New York Times bestseller list.
And
I can already see it.
You heard it here. All right. I like I said, I could keep talking to you because it's so interesting. And guys, if you are an entrepreneur, you own your own company, and you have something that you specialize in that you want to get out there and let more people know about, or let them know about the little secrets of your business or the industry, you can contact Adam and his company and look into the idea of publishing that book about your business or about your idea or what's been successful. And these guys will basically put together the cake. You don't have to go buy all the ingredients. They'll do this for you. Yeah, it's going to cost you some money. But at the same time, what I know for a fact that this company does is, regardless of that investment, you're going to get it back. Probably not in book sales, but in the sense of people are going to use you or your company for these services because you are an expert, and you're going to be looked at that.
Yeah, for 9.9 out of 10 authors, you are not going to make money selling your book. But you can get rich as an author from what we call the invisible income streams. The invisible income streams of being an author are the increased credibility, the increased authority, the increased trust that people now have of you because you wrote the book on the topic, the fact that you can turn it into speaking engagements, the fact that you can use it to directly generate leads and turn people into customers using your book as the lead generation tool, using your book to get featured in news, using it as the hook for public relations. There's so many ways that you can use a book to make money, but that money isn't going to come by people going to Barnes & Noble and buying it.
Except for my book ideas.
Except for yours. Well, it's going to be number one bestseller.
All right, we had some questions from some subscribers, so let me run these by you. First one is Yancey from Knoxville, Tennessee. What is the first step in going about writing a book? Or what should be the first step, in your opinion?
So the first step is this. I always like to say, bait the hook to suit the fish, not the fisherman. Okay? Most people write the book.
Say that one more time. Hey, mark that time down. It's a good clip for the...
Bait the hook to suit the fish, not the fisherman.
Very good.
Most people write the book they want to write. And in a lot of cases, there is no audience for that message. It's just what the authors always thought that they were going to write their book about. So we like to say, who is the audience for your book? And what is the one thing or the couple of things that are literally keeping them up at night, where if you had a book that could solve those problems, they would pick it up in an instant. And so it really kind of transitions this idea of book creation from what do I want versus what does my reader want? What are the concerns that are keeping them up at night, and how do I create something that addresses and answers those concerns?
Oh, that's a great answer. All right. Becky from Prescott, Arizona. I want to write a book about my rise from being an orphan to owning my own business. I struggle with I can't remember a lot of my past and really pinpointing why I'm successful in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So this is not uncommon. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Jeez, these are great.
And the reason I say that is because so many people that I meet are like, oh my God, I've always wanted to write a book, and I've had this idea in me for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you have a book? I just look at the keyboard and I just get stuck, and it's just a blank screen staring at me. And the reason is they're just trying to do everything on their own. the reason we exist is because we have a team of people that are professionals at taking the idea outside of your brain and turning it into a constructive document. We call it a master book plan that can then be turned into a 40 or 50,000 word manuscript. And that's a total team effort, right? That's a book architect. That's a brand and marketing strategist. That's a ghostwriter. That's an editor that are all working together to say, okay, you've got this set of experiences. Maybe you can't remember all the details of it, but tell us what you know. Let us work our creative magic and put something together. And then we start refining it. And that's when the details that you can't remember, now once you have better prompts, it's amazing what you might be able to remember because you have the right prompt, whereas before you didn't. So to that question, I say, if you're stuck, you probably need a team of people that have skills that you don't have to get you over the block that you're at now.
Great answer. All right, good question, Becky. Tom in Manhattan, Kansas. If you were only allowed one tool or one gift to choose from to help make your book stand out from the rest, what would that one tool be?
Patience. Marketing and selling a book is a marathon, not a sprint. And most people, when they write a book, they're excited. The book just came out, and it's as if they're on a sugar high. All they can do is talk about the book, think about the book, and then
I would think they're completely annoying to be around at like a holiday party and stuff. Because it's like, I don't want to hear about your book.
But by New Year's, they're on to the next thing, right? So the mistake that authors make is the book comes out and it's all they can think about. And then they drop it and they're on to the next thing. And so we like to say that when you create a book, you're building an asset that will serve you and your career for the rest of your life. And so it's all about, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? People say, well, how should I market my book? And my advice to them is, okay, 3 things every day. Those 3 things, what could they be? They could be, hey, I've got a prospective client. I'm going to mail them a copy of my book. I'm going to open up the book. I'm going to autograph it, and I'm going to put it in the mail to them. That's 1 out of the 3. Right. Another thing could be, I live in Charleston and we have a newspaper. It's the Post and Courier. They do a book review section every Tuesday. I'm going to mail a copy of my book to the book reviewer. That's the second thing. Right. Number 3 is, hey, I'm going to be on this podcast called Shrimp Tank. I'm going to talk about my book. That's the third thing. Right. Little things that take no more than maybe, 30 minutes in some cases or an hour at most. If you just do those 2 or 3 things every single day, it adds up to, miles of energy and work. But most authors, they try to do all of it in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then they become burned out and they move on to the next thing. So the biggest piece of advice is patience, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And have a routine.
Definitely.
All right, last question. Jay in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a professional gambler. I made a living being a gambler. I would love to segue into training gambling online, but don't know how to monetize this. What would you recommend? And I'm guessing he's going with, the book idea could be a great way for him to get his name out there versus just trying to come up with a website to say, come to my website. I'm guessing. I think that's what you're saying, Jay.
So I would say to Jay, the first thing that came to my mind as you're reading this question, success in gambling, and I'm going to assume gambling isn't the roulette wheel, but it's poker. So there's strategy involved in something like that, I'm going to guess. Why not create a book as a world-class gambler that's really a book on strategy? It's not necessarily a book on gambling. It's a book on strategy. Now, how to think strategically, how to make bets that have a better payoff, right? So you could take this success, this platform of being a world-class gambler, and use it as a way to teach strategy, which now has business application. certainly has application to somebody that wants to gamble. But now, a sales organization or a company might hire you to come speak at their conference, where if it's solely a book on gambling, that market's really limited. Now, I don't know that that's what Jay wants to do, but the first thing that I thought is there's a strategy component here. And so I think the best book is not what he's thinking it is.
Which you just basically helped not only the listeners, but me, where you just said that strategy is the way we should maybe, you brought the idea of strategy, whereas Jay and other people out there, they're trying to just figure out how to talk about, let me show you how I play poker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, zoom out before you zoom in, right? I think most people, when they think about a book, they're just very focused on this small little idea. And before we go with that, let's zoom out and say, hey, is there a bigger opportunity and a bigger market for the concept of your idea, maybe applied in a different way than what you're thinking?
Great stuff. Thank you for all the questions. They were great questions. Thank you for the answers. Excellent. Guys, I got to tell you, this, Adam, I'm going to give you top 10 best guests we've ever had on the show. Number 1. I tell that to everybody, though. So everyone's a top 10.
No, you tell everybody they're top 5. You told me I'm top 10.
But seriously, it is the case. I think my Siri thought I fell down or something. If you heard that in the background, I apologize. But awesome show today. Great nuggets that you shared. Forbes book, Advantage Media, awesome companies. If these folks do want to take advantage and reach out to you or the company about this concept of maybe starting developing their own book, how should they do that? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, 2 ways. Number 1, visit one of our websites, books.forbes.com.
Books.forbes.com. It's an awesome website, by the way.
Thank you. AdvantageMedia.com. Those are 2 websites they can go to learn more, and they can contact us directly through that. The second is I'll share my personal email address, and if there's anybody listening and is like, wow, this really resonates with me, they can reach out to me directly, and I can certainly facilitate an introduction to somebody on our team that could be very helpful for them. And my email is awitty, AWITTY, at ForbesBooks.com.
Guys, you should. If you're thinking it, you definitely should. I mean, I've been convinced today that this is a great strategy to help build your brand. There's no doubt what you guys are doing is amazing. Great show today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please check out our previous episodes on the various podcast channels and follow the show. If you are a visual person, then watch the interviews on our YouTube channel. I would love to connect with my listeners, so please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X. You can search my name, Eric Elkins, or our company name, Double E, or the Shrimp Tank Charleston. Just whatever you want to do, or follow all of them. That'd be great. If you or your company would like to have an enjoyable conversation about retirement, employee benefits, life and long-term care insurance, just to name a few, or to get my upcoming book about life insurance and health insurance, please reach out to our website, www.ELLC.com. Lastly, if you think you or you know of someone that is an entrepreneur or leader making an impact in the world that would be a great guest, then please contact one of our executive producers, Kristen Killman, at KK@EELLC.com. That's DOUBLEELLC.com. I'm Eric Elkins. Please focus on being a 1%er. Adam, do you know what a 1%er is?
I do know what a 1%er is.
You do?
I do. I think I do.
Go ahead. Tell me.
It's a 1%er. You do the top of the top. You do 1%. You do the best. You're in the top 1% in every category, whether it's work ethic, whether it's attitude, whether it's discipline, whether it's focus. It's about being at the top of your game in all of these different things to make you a top 1% person. That's how I interpret it. That may be wrong.
It's not wrong. I'll just, only thing I'll add to it is everything that Adam just said is true. On top of, it's someone that does what 99% of people won't do. And that's all. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, but in real life, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through their financial insurance portfolios. Double E provides clients an entertaining and unique experience. The Shrimp Tank Charleston Show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We dive into their journey and discover what drove them to become so successful. We will make sure we get out of them not only the wins, but also the losses that they have had on their journey. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, double-ellc.com.